Did you ever wonder why black rappers and most black young men wear sagging pants? To show they know fashion, they keep their pants below their waists, showing underwear stripes. It's considered cool, but whenever white supremacists see them, they laugh at them. Yet nobody knows why. Well, it's quite heart-wrenching that back in the slavery era, black male slaves were sexually abused by white men who were gay. To humiliate them wherever they went, white men would force black male slaves to keep their pants lower than their waist. It was a sign of disrespect. And what happens when white supremacists see young black men wearing sagging pants? Well, they feel the dark pleasure that black people still do things they decided for them. But what more unknown practices, beliefs, and terminologies have their roots in slavery, but are followed to this day? In this video, let's find out.
The Black History Archives.
The harmful stereotypes developed during slavery in the United States had a long-lasting and devastating impact on black individuals, both during the era of slavery and well after emancipation. These stereotypes served as tools to justify dehumanization, exploitation, and mistreatment, making them socially acceptable to the white majority. However, their influence persisted long after slavery was abolished, becoming deeply ingrained in American society and fueling systemic racism that still affects African Americans today. The reason why black people are still marginalized, face racism, and cannot live as equal citizens in America is because of these stereotypes, practices, beliefs, and terminologies that have roots in the slavery era. Number 1. The Sambo Stereotype, infantilizing and controlling. Black men. The Sambo stereotype depicted black men as lazy, carefree, and naturally submissive. It portrayed them as childlike individuals who needed the guidance and control of white masters, framing slavery as a benevolent system. This characterization not only dehumanized black men, but also positioned them as incapable of taking on responsibility or exercising independent thought. Today, this stereotype continues to affect the perception of black men in society. Many are still unjustly seen as inherently lazy or unmotivated, which negatively impacts their employment opportunities and educational experiences. Even those who do not believe in racism subtly believe in this stereotype because it was ingrained in them from the very start. Whenever questions are raised on why black people cannot have equal standards of life and opportunities, the Sambo stereotype is quoted. It's said that black people are getting equal opportunities, but they don't seize them. What's more, examples are quoted, showing black people in every field. Yet it's not revealed that those black people in various fields were selectively chosen to be shown as examples. That's why we often see a few black people becoming part of literally every area, from movies to politics to sports. They are not chosen on merit, but only to present a picture of inclusion and avoid questions like why there are only a few black faces who are successful. Well, that's because black people still don't get an equal share in opportunities and racism lasts. This perception also contributes to the over-policing of black men, where they are often treated as threats needing control. Studies have shown that implicit biases rooted in the Sambo stereotype play a significant role in the disproportionate incarceration rates of black men, as they are more likely to be viewed as dangerous or irresponsible by law enforcement. The infantilization embedded in this stereotype also affects how black men are treated in professional and social contexts. They are often presumed to lack ambition or intellectual capability, which perpetuates discrimination in hiring practices, leadership opportunities, and academic settings. Number 2. The Jezebel Stereotype, sexualizing and exploiting. Black women. The Jezebel stereotype was designed to portray black women as hypersexual, promiscuous, and morally loose. But this was not without cause. This stereotype was used to justify the uncontrolled sexual exploitation of enslaved black women, shifting the blame for sexual violence onto the victims themselves. Slave owners and other white men were able to escape accountability by perpetuating the myth that black women were naturally lustful and willing participants. The legacy of this stereotype continues to harm black women today. The Jezebel image fuels the hypersexualization of black women in media and popular culture, where they are frequently depicted in sexualized roles. This perception often leads to unfair treatment in professional environments, where black women may be judged or mistreated based on their appearance or perceived sexuality. The Jezebel Stereotype also contributes to the victimization of black women in the criminal justice system. Black women who experience sexual assault or harassment are often not believed or treated with the same compassion as their white counterparts, as they are perceived as more sexually available or less worthy of protection. Furthermore, this stereotype plays a role in the historical control of black women's reproductive rights, from forced sterilizations to the systemic neglect they face in healthcare today. Here's a reminder to please support us so we can make more videos for you by subscribing to our channel and giving the video a like. We want to build a strong community, and we need your support. Let's continue now. Number 3. The term motherfucker. The origins of the term motherfucker are rooted in the brutal realities of slavery. During this period, it was used as a derogatory term aimed at enslaved black men, but its meaning was far more disturbing. Slave owners would force black men into sexual acts with their mothers or other family members as a form of punishment or public humiliation. These coerced acts were intended to strip black men of their dignity and humanity while reinforcing the slave owners' control. This form of sexual violence wasn't only a means of physical domination, but also a calculated method of psychological warfare. By publicly humiliating black men in front of their communities, slave owners sought to destroy familial bonds, leaving enslaved men emotionally and psychologically broken. The use of this term was a constant reminder of their dehumanized status under slavery. Today, while the term motherfucker has evolved and is used in different contexts, its historical roots in the degradation of black men carry profound significance. It serves as a reminder of how sexual violence and coercion were wielded as tools of oppression to maintain the institution of slavery and control over the enslaved population. Number 4. Stereotypes of criminality and hypersurveillance. The stereotype of black criminality originated during slavery and was reinforced during Reconstruction to justify the policing and control of black people. Black men, in particular, were depicted as inherently dangerous, aggressive, and prone to criminal behavior. These stereotypes were used to legitimize violence, harsh punishment, and mass incarceration. Today, this stereotype persists in the form of racial profiling and the over-policing of black communities. Practices like stop and frisk disproportionately target black individuals, especially men, who are far more likely to be stopped, searched, and arrested for minor or non-existent infractions compared to white individuals. Racial bias in law enforcement leads to harsher sentencing for black people, further exacerbating the racial disparities within the criminal justice system. This stereotype fosters mistrust and fear toward black people, reinforcing segregation and discrimination in housing, employment, and public spaces. It also contributes to the mass incarceration of black individuals, with black men being incarcerated at disproportionately high rates. Number 5. Stereotypes of intellectual inferiority. The myth of black intellectual inferiority was promoted during slavery to justify the dehumanization and exploitation of black people. Pseudoscientific theories like phrenology and polygenism falsely claimed that black people were biologically less intelligent and incapable of complex thought, validating their enslavement and exclusion from intellectual and political life. Unfortunately, this stereotype persists in educational settings today, where black students often face lower expectations and are less likely to be placed in advanced programs, even when they demonstrate ability. Implicit bias in educational assessments leads to higher suspension and expulsion rates for Black students, contributing to the school-to-prison pipeline. These perceptions also limit career opportunities for Black professionals who often face assumptions of incompetence and are forced to prove themselves repeatedly. This stereotype's legacy is evident in the continued underrepresentation of Black people in leadership roles across academia and corporate spaces. The idea of intellectual inferiority continues to hinder the educational and career prospects of Black individuals, reinforcing systemic barriers to equality. Number 6. Stereotypes in health and medical care. The deep scars left by slavery in the United States are particularly evident in healthcare. Historically, Black people were subjected to unethical medical experiments without their consent and denied proper health care. One notorious figure in this history is Dr. Marion Sims, often called the father of modern gynecology. Between 1845 and 1849, Sims conducted painful gynecological experiments on enslaved Black women, including Anarcha, Betsy, and Lucy, without anesthesia. Despite anesthesia being available, Sims justified his decision with the racist belief that Black women could tolerate more pain than white women. This pseudoscientific reasoning was common at the time and served as a justification for the brutal treatment of Black individuals. Doctors would purchase Black slaves and use them as laboratory subjects, doing experiments on them. This legacy of medical exploitation didn't end with Sims. For decades, Black people were used in medical experiments, the most infamous being the Tuskegee syphilis study, where Black men were deliberately left untreated for syphilis to study the disease's progression. In modern healthcare, the effects of this mistrust are still visible. Studies show that Black patients are less likely to receive adequate pain management compared to white patients, largely due to lingering biases that Black people can endure more pain. This racial bias affects everything from maternal mortality rates to general healthcare outcomes, with Black women facing disproportionately high rates of complications during childbirth. Number 7. Sagging pants. The modern fashion trend of sagging pants, particularly in African American culture, is tied to a painful legacy dating back to slavery. During slavery, Black men who resisted or attempted to escape were often subjected to brutal punishments. One particularly heinous form of punishment involved sexual violence, where enslaved men were raped by their owners to break their spirits and assert dominance. Following these assaults, enslaved men were sometimes forced to walk with their pants lowered, marking them as victims of this sexual violence. Sagging pants became a symbol of the shame and degradation these men endured, reinforcing their subjugation. It was used as a visual reminder of their violation and as a warning to others who might consider rebellion or escape. In contemporary times, sagging pants have been adopted as a fashion statement, often associated with hip-hop culture and expressions of rebellion or nonconformity. However, many who embrace this trend may not be aware of its historical origins. The practice, which once symbolized brutal subjugation, now carries unintended historical weight. Moreover, some white supremacist ideologies view the ongoing trend of sagging pants among Black men as a continuation of their ability to publicly humiliate and degrade Black men. What do you think? Is Black culture mainly shaped by white supremacists and Black people simply follow it without thinking critically? Isn't it true that the dark hunger to control Black people's lives still guides white supremacists to this day? In the comments section right below, share your thoughts on what more stereotypes, practices, and terminologies have roots in slavery and impact Black people's lives to this day. Would you like us to make more videos? If yes, please support us by subscribing to the Black History Archives and clicking the bell icon. You can check out more videos on our channel too.